Hey there, guys. Hope you guys are all having a good evening here. Out doing some of my work runs, and I'm kind of in between going one place to another here. And I thought I would get on here and talk a little bit about. Now, we all know. I wanted to talk a little bit about ownership. Team ownership. Now, we all know that sometime here this upcoming week, it's going to be announced that the Arizona Coyotes are going to be moving to Salt Lake City, Utah. And the ramifications of this, I mean, the distractions the players have felt, the front, the coaches, anybody who is employed with this team. This has been, now I'm trying to think. Alex Mariuello purchased this team in what, 2018? Was it 2018, 2019? I think it was one of those 2 years. This guy, I'm sorry. This has got to be one of the worst owners that I've ever witnessed in the NHL. And I've seen some bad ownerships, some bad ownership groups. But my goodness, the fans in Arizona, and there are fans in Arizona, I feel absolutely horrible for them. Because there are fans that have been fans of this team for many, many years. Because they have been there for a long time. They've been there since 1996. I graduated high school in 1996. The Coyotes left there. They started in Arizona in October of 1996. This team, they've never had stable ownership. Their owners, ownership of this franchise throughout the entire time has been an unmitigated disaster. And that's one thing that I kind of want to look back on, because I mean, honestly, you can trace it back to the last set of owners of the Winnipeg Jets. But they didn't want to necessarily move the Jets. The Jets were forced to move because of the crappy Canadian economy at the time. The Canadian dollar was in the toilet in the mid-90s. That's why you lost Quebec. That's one of the reasons why you lost Quebec. It's one of the reasons why you lost Winnipeg. That's why it was honestly looking like Calgary and Edmonton could have potentially left also. That's how bad the Canadian economy was at that time. It was god-awful. And it just... So, the bad Canadian economy, the bad Canadian dollar, that's why they left. Now, I look back at their time in Arizona. They've never made money. Not one single year that the Arizona Coyotes have been in the NHL since moving from Winnipeg, they have never turned a profit. Not once. That right there is criminal. But that also, again, ownership. The ownership at the time, the owners have been just horrible. And they never could could get solid footing on an arena. It was looking like they were gonna try to get something set up at Scottsdale, which I think could have worked. I think Scottsdale, honestly, I think could have worked, because there were a lot of, I mean, that's where a lot of their fan base is. Phoenix, Scottsdale, Tempe, Tucson, that area. But they couldn't get anything worked out with Scottsdale. So they get worked out with, let's get this land and build this arena in Glendale. Now, Glendale is not where their fan base is. I've been to Arizona. I went and my wife and I went and saw my sister-in-law, or my sister-in-laws, when they both were living in Tucson. And I wanted to see where the Coyotes played. I thought, I want to go see Gila River Arena. So we made the trek from Tucson. From Tucson, it is almost an hour away. From Tucson. Now, mind you, you go through Phoenix. You go through Phoenix. You kind of go through Scottsdale. You're going down it's one road. It's basically what is it? The 101 out there? Something like that. I'm trying to remember. I'm not exactly sure what the roads were out there, but there's only one way to get from that area to Glendale. And when it's busy, it takes even longer. So when you have games out there, everybody wonders, why the games weren't that well attended. Well, when your fan base is almost an hour away, and that's without traffic, I mean, what are you supposed to do? It was a bad idea. It wasn't working. It didn't work. And then Alex Meruelo and his group, they buy the team. They go and they buy the team from, was it the NHL? I think they owned them at the time. I think it was the NHL that sold them to Meruelo, I think. Not entirely positive of that. Let me know in the comment section if any of you know for sure. But Alex Meruelo comes in, he buys the team, and he makes some big promises. A lot of big promises. We're gonna spend money on this team. We're gonna get this team an arena. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. Blah 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 blah. And did he do any of that? Not a bit. He absolutely, and this is why, and I've seen articles, and I've seen videos from Coyotes fans. This guy, his ownership group, between him and Javier Gutierrez and anybody else that has had anything to do with this ownership group, they've lost any kind of faith or trust that they had with the Arizona fan base. Gone. Absolutely gone. These fans don't want anything more to do with this guy or his group. They honestly have said, this team is moving to Utah. They don't want him to be a part of anything else. If there is a team that is ever brought back to Arizona, they don't want Alex Meruelo, Javier Gutierrez, or anybody in that ownership group to have their hands on any bit of it. Not the land, not the arena, nothing. They don't want this guy to be a part of anything. And I can't blame them. I don't blame them. Would you? I mean, still to this day, here in Minnesota, the phrase Norm Green still sucks still is resonated with fans of Minnesota hockey, because he did something similar. He came in, he bought the North Stars in like 1988 or 89, And he promised a lot of good things. Hey, we're going to get a new arena. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. All knowing, he knew he was never going to keep the team here. He was never going to keep the North Stars here, no matter what they'd have done. They could have won the Stanley Cup in 1991. It wasn't mattering. He was moving them 2 years later. It did not matter. Now, I think it would have been a little harder if the North Stars would have won the Stanley Cup in 1991. It might have been a little harder to move them 2 years later. But it took us 8 years to finally get a team, an NHL team, back here in Minnesota. And it was all contingent. Could we get a building? Because we didn't really have one. The Met Center was gone. After the North Stars left, the Met Center got torn down, and an IKEA was built there. You had the Mall of America coming in that was right next to it. That got torn. The Met Center got torn down. They built an IKEA there. And so, I mean, in order to have an NHL team here, we needed a building. And Bob Negley Jr., God rest his soul, he was hell-bent on bringing a team, an NHL team, back to Minnesota. And he wanted to put forth, I mean, they still had to do it with public money, but the public agreed to it. They wanted their team back here in Minnesota too. So it was agreed upon with public money. I want to say Bob Negley and his crew did put some money forth themselves too, but there was public money involved, and the XL Energy Center was built. They tore down the old St. Paul Civic Center, and in its place, they started building the XL Energy Center. And once that building was approved, Gary Bettman and the Board of Governors approved an expansion team for the state of Minnesota in 1997? 97, 98. Either 97 or 98. Because we lost the North Stars in 1993. But we were approved of the franchise in like 1997 or 98. But we had to get the arena built so they wouldn't come in for another couple of years. But in 2000-2001 season, the first year of the Minnesota Wild, along with the Columbus Blue Jackets. And the Minnesota Wild have been a mainstay here ever since. The XL Energy Center, fantastic building, still one of the top buildings in the league. There's no talk of needing renovations or anything of the XL Center. It's still a fantastic building. They built that thing very well, very, very nicely. But we had bad ownership. We had bad ownership at the time. And we knew hockey would work in Minnesota because it had. I mean, Minnesota, we're called the state of hockey for a reason. But contrast that to what Arizona's gone through. Arizona, it's a non-traditional hockey market. But look at their ownership. Alex Meruello and that ownership group, my God, what in the world? I mean, how many ownership groups do you know are just days away from being kicked out of their own building because they didn't want to pay the rent? They didn't want to pay the rent. They didn't want to pay the bills on the building. They didn't pay their vendors. They weren't paying anybody. I mean, I think I talked about this before. Like, how do you not do that? How do you not pay your vendors? How do you not, how do you not pay the taxes that are due on the bill? How do you not do that? You're a billionaire, for God's sakes. Alex Meruello is worth, I believe, is worth more money than Ryan Smith, the guy who is buying the Arizona Coyotes and moving them to Salt Lake City. How can you not afford to pay that? I mean, were you just trying to play chicken with the city of Glendale? I don't know. But the city of Glendale, eventually they got tired of it. They said, no, we're done. You're out. Screw you. We don't want you here. And I mean, it's insane. So they're forced to go play out of this college arena, Mullet Arena, on the Arizona State campus. They had to pay for all the renovations. They had to pay for everything. They had to pay for all this stuff. They had to pay for it all up front. So they could pay for it all. They could pay for stuff. They had to pay for the renovations. They had to pay for all that. But the whole thing was, okay, we're going to play out of Mullet Arena. We're going to play out of Mullet Arena. We're going to get a new arena. We're going to get a new arena. We're going to get a new building. What happened about the building? What about the building? We thought that was going to come to fruition. They talked about that for over a year. And they said, we're looking at this land. We're looking at these different pieces of land. We're looking at Tempe. Tempe was the main thing. That's where they put all their eggs in that basket, thinking for sure that vote, we're going to win that vote. We're going to build the arena right there. It's going to be fabulous. Not realizing that the people of Tempe, even though, you know, they're not a whole ton of people came out and voted for it, or voted for it or against it, but the people who did come out and vote resoundingly defeated it. So, which to me still seemed weird. I mean, how is it you're Tempe, Arizona, and you go and say, yeah, we'd rather have this toxic landfill instead of an arena, shops, hotels, residential neighborhoods, all that stuff. We'd rather have a landfill. What? You'd rather have a landfill than a hockey arena? I never understood that. I'm like, how bad is it that these guys want to keep a landfill there instead of instead of building a hockey arena and having shops and businesses that bring tax money into the community. Nah, we want our landfill. Head, palm, but so they put all their eggs in that basket. So then they started looking at a couple other pieces of land, and they settled on this piece of land in North Phoenix bordering Scottsdale. That's basically right across the street from Scottsdale. And they were talking about that land the minute the Tempe vote failed. That's where they started looking, was there. And they kept saying, we're going to get this land, we're going to do it, we're going to we're going to have definitive stuff here by this time. Well, a year passed, still nothing. And they kept telling Gary and the league, yeah, we're going to have something, we're going to have a plan by the All-Star break. All-Star break came and went. Where's your plan? We don't have a plan. And now this apparently, and now hearing that this has basically been the plan the whole time, selling the team. So, I mean, Alex Mariuello and his ownership group, Javier Gutierrez, all of them, they literally They not only gaslit their own fan base, they literally looked at them and lied to their faces. Lied to their faces that we're going to get this land, we're going to have this awesome arena, we're going to have this great business district around the arena, we're going to get that in Tempe. Wrong. We're going to have this in this 100-acre plot of North Phoenix, which, by the way, was going to cost a ton of friggin' money. And they still no plan. I mean, here we are, we're getting to the end of the season. They still had really no plan to do anything. But now they're about to turn around and sell the team. They're going to turn around and they're going to sell the team to Salt Lake City, Utah. So this team that has got a lot of young talent on it, have a ton of draft picks over the next few years, you're potentially going to see this team become a pretty good team here, I think, in the next couple years. And it's not going to be in Arizona. It's going to be in Salt Lake City, Utah. Kind of like how Quebec Nordique fans felt. Because just as the Quebec Nordiques were starting to get good, Marcel Aubut sells the team to this company that moves them to Denver, Colorado. And what happened that first year in Denver? They won the Stanley Cup. Now, I'm not saying the Arizona Coyotes are going to move to Salt Lake City and immediately win the Stanley Cup their first year there. I'm not saying they're going to do that. But this is a team I think is going to be pretty good in the next couple years. And those fans in Arizona, I don't know. I mean, what do they do? Because, like we said, Arizona has fans. I mean, if you didn't have the Arizona Coyotes, you wouldn't have Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews got into playing hockey and loved hockey because the Arizona Coyotes were there. He grew up watching the Arizona Coyotes. Matthew Nyes, another one, grew up in Arizona. He went to the University of Minnesota. He's a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs now. He got into hockey because of the Arizona Coyotes. You know, Shane Doan spent his whole career as a member of the Arizona Coyotes, and he was actually there. His rookie year in the NHL was the last year that they were in Winnipeg before moving to Arizona. He spent his entire tenure in the NHL as a member of that team. And now his son plays for that team. And these guys are moving to Salt Lake City. It's most likely, again, going to be announced here probably in the next couple of days. And the players and everything, they've got families. They have families with probably young children. They've probably bought houses in the Phoenix area, in Scottsdale, in those areas. I mean, and now they're going to have to up and move. They're all going to have to to up and move to Salt Lake City. It just, and the fact that Alex Meruelo comes out and says, well, if I buy this land, I have the right to trigger an expansion within 5 years. So he buys this land, he builds this arena. If he gets this arena built in 5 years, the NHL has to give him a team. They have to give him a team. Now that could be That could be a whole other can of worms. If the NHL goes and says, yeah, you do this and you tell us when it's all said and done and we'll expand. Like I said, that could open up a whole other can of worms when it comes to teams like Houston, like Quebec, saying, well, wait, you did why are you doing this for why are you doing this for them? You know, we already have a hockey, you know, an NHL ready arena. Why couldn't you do this for us? Meaning Quebec. So I got a feeling that is going to piss a lot of people off too. That the fact that he could potentially re-trigger an expansion and have a team brought back to Arizona. But this is the thing. I don't think the fans in Arizona, as much as they would probably love to get a team back, I don't think they want Alex Meruelo or Javier Gutierrez or anybody in that crew owning any part of it. Just reading articles and you know, listening to people in other videos. They don't want this guy having any piece of any other team that's there. They cannot stand him. Basically, I could see him getting the same type of treatment that we still give Norm Green. Only instead of Norm Green still sucks here, which we still hear here, in Arizona, Alex Meruelo sucks. Watch that start trending. Alex Meruelo sucks. Because the trust in that fan base, it's gone. He gaslit his own fan base. He lied to them, flat out lied to them, promised all these things, delivered nothing, and now they're losing their team. Now, granted, I mean, I have looked at this team, and I had thought for a long time that, yeah, this was a team they shouldn't be in Arizona, but not because they didn't have fans, not because of, you know, all this other stuff. It's just the fact they couldn't make money. They couldn't make money, and the NHL was bending over backwards to do whatever it could to keep them there, to let them play out of a 4,500-seat arena, out of a college arena, that no other NHL team would get that benefit. No other NHL team would have that benefit. But they did, because they think it can work in Arizona. Now, can it work in Arizona? That's what I wonder. I don't know. It's the same kind of thing where a lot of people think, oh, it could work in Atlanta, because Atlanta had the same issues. They didn't have solid ownership, and they lost their arena. That's why they had to move to Winnipeg. And a lot of people are looking at what happened with the Atlanta Thrashers and now what's going on with the Arizona Coyotes. Very similar. A very similar thing. But can it work in Arizona? I don't know. First things first, though. You need a building in order to make it work in Arizona. You need a building. You need land. You need a building to play. You cannot be an NHL team if you don't have a building to play in. So, can it work? Maybe. If they can get a building, if they can get a solid building to play in, and solid ownership, and get this building done in an area where their fans are. Whether it's Phoenix, Scottsdale, Tempe, we know Tempe won't work. It's looking like it's going to be this area in North Phoenix that they want to get. It all depends on if they can win that auction. But again, this is Alex Meruelo. The fans don't want him anywhere near their team, another team. And I can't blame him. Now, will he win this land auction? Maybe. But again, do the Coyote fans want him owning any other team? I don't think so. Let me know, though, what you guys think. I would love to know what some of you guys think. And especially if you're a fan of the Arizona Coyotes. If you've been a fan of the Coyotes for years, if you've been a fan, because some of these guys have been lifelong fans of this team. They started out watching them as kids, and they're adults now, and they've been fans of this team forever. What do you think? Do you want Alex Meruelo to buy this land? Do you want him anywhere near a possible Arizona Coyotes 2.0? Personally, me, if I were a Coyotes fan, and I like every team, but I mean, if I were a diehard Coyotes fan, I wouldn't want him anywhere near. I'd be like, nope. Get your cotton picking hands off of our, get out of town, go back to your casino, go back to wherever, you know. A lot of these fans, that's how they're feeling. Go back to where the hell you came from and stay the hell away from here. If you're a diehard Coyotes fan, let me know in the comments section. Is that how you feel? Do you feel that same way? I will not blame you if you do, because if I were a diehard Coyotes fan, I certainly would. So, let me know what you guys think. I've rambled on long enough about this, but yeah, let me know, because I understand the frustration of the fan base. They've been lied to. They've been gaslit. They've been just, you name it. You name it. I mean, they have literally, you know, they literally have been told, apologize for being potentially a little graphic here, but they basically have been peed on and have been told that it's raining. It's not raining. But let me know what you guys think. And again, I feel bad for true diehard Coyote fans because they've been given a raw deal every step of the way, especially by Alex Meruelo and this ownership group, Javier Gutierrez, all of them. They have been screwed over the minute they bought this franchise. And maybe John Chayka just up and leaving, maybe that was a sign. Nobody can seem to figure out why all of a sudden John Chayka, this young GM, just all of a sudden up and left. Just gone. Said, I don't want nothing to do with these. I don't want nothing to do with this team. Maybe that was a sign. A sign that everybody maybe should have paid a little more attention to. That this ownership group is not what they were billed to be. So let me know what you guys think. Please like this video. Again, I apologize for being 35, for talking for 35 minutes here. But, it's such a bad deal. It's a bad deal for the fan base in Arizona. And, again, let me know what you guys think. Please like this video. It would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Also, please subscribe to the channel. That would be absolutely greatly appreciated and awesome also. And if you feel like sharing this video with other Coyote fans, go right ahead. And yeah. So, and Do the Arizona Coyotes get another team again? Or does Arizona get another team again in the next 5 years? Let me know your guys' thoughts. I will see you guys again later.